Greetings, MechWarriors! Good to see ya! My name is TTB, and today we're taking a deep dive into the latest Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries trailer. In the first scene here, we see a Shadowhawk demonstrating a bit of destructible terrain by breaking through a fence and a concrete barrier. Now, this is actually an interesting contrast to Mechwarrior Online, where these kinds of barriers are indestructible and will stop your mech cold. Next up, we see the Shadowhawk, Grey Death, that's actually a hero mech, engaging in urban combat with the task to destroy some warehouses around NAV Alpha. Now, the UI seems to have changed since that last update. Note the radial radar, for example, on the top left corner. On the bottom left, it shows your mech health both front and back, as we know from Mechwarrior Online. The three bars from the left to the right seem to be speed, jump jets, and the heat bar. The enemy commando being destroyed shows up as a commando 1D, and we can assume enemies have ranks that may differ in the quality of weapons they use or the accuracy that they have, as this one, for example, is designated as Elite. The enemy health paper doll is once again shown in the top right corner, complete with the loadout the mech is using. However, what I find is missing right now is the percentage health indicator, like we know from Mechwarrior Online, on the center of your crosshair. Once again, destructive terrain and objectives are shown by the mech not having to shoot the warehouse. No. Instead, he simply goes on a leisurely stroll through it, like a bull in a China store. That's cool. On the bottom right, we have a weapons array complete with the ammo display, cooldown, and weapon groups. The order of display seems to be close to Mechwarrior Online, with arm weapons separate from the torso-mounted weapons, indicated by two different crosshairs corresponding to your main crosshair in the middle of your screen. Story bits for in-game communication seems to be done via text plus audio plus a static image of your conversation partner being displayed. Now the dropship comes in and takes the mech and the pilot home. Now that's a nice sequence. Actually, note the heat distortions on the dropship jets. Nice attention to detail. Next, we see the end of mission screen. Aside from the mech being pretty scorched and one arm short, we can actually see that the mech unit will have a reputation that will grow by completing missions. The total payout gains, reputation gains, and mech salvaged, in this case being an Atlas K, are also shown. Next up is a salvage screen, actually pretty similar to the ones used in Harebrained Scheme's Battletech. On the right side of the salvage screen, it shows the employer and the opponent, your faction standing and how it develops, and some comments on the effects of your actions on the factions and the system you just graced with your presence. For example, Haus Steiner says to that particular mission, "Law enforcement is rounding up all the terrorists who survived the explosion, but there may be a few stragglers. If they do manage to elude us, we trust they understand your message, because that explosion could be heard across the entire city." Haus Curator, however, is less happy with you. "Do you have any conception of how corrupt this government is? By ruining our plans, you have only aided and abetted tyranny. We are not the ones ruining lives." Now we can see that the payout in this particular mission is divided by a base payout plus successful objectives. Below that, we actually find the insurance costs, just as in real life. For example, this mech seems to have been uninsured, so there is no damage coverage. At the bottom right, you see the total payout that is available for this mission. Now, much more interesting to me is actually the left side of this particular screen. You seem to gain a number of salvage rights shares, and you can select items, but each of the items that you can loot basically costs a number of shares. The share value seems to depend on the rarity of the item and thus the value of the item. Note that there are bars over the items or over the weapons denoting quality levels, and at the bottom it adds up the total value of your claimed items. Now we're in the McBay. It just looks great being able to walk amongst these hulking machines of destruction, especially since they're yours. The current tasks are shown in the top left corner. Right now, we are accessing the mech lab to repair and refit. The salvaged Atlas gained from the last mission is going to get repaired, and new items will be put on. Now, the items are actually classified by their type, for example, ballistic, energy, or missile weapon, and they do fit into a corresponding slot. That slot, however, also needs to be large enough to be able to house the weapon. Right now, we are installing an autocannon 20. Take a look at this salvaged autocannon 20. It's actually a large weapon and of the highest quality tier, tier 5, indicated by the prominent orange bar as well. It actually says this is a burst fire ballistic weapon with short range but very high damage. And all the stats are shown, such as weight, damage, rate of fire, heat, maximum range, projectile speed, and spread. Next up, we're taking a look at the lasers, as the right arm features a large energy slot, and of course that needs to be filled. Compare this tier 2 large laser with the tier 3 ER large laser. The weight is the same, but the tier 2 stats are 8.4 damage, 11.8 rounds per minute, 5.4 heat, and 708 meters max range. The ER large laser, however, does more damage per shot at 9.2 over 8.4. It shoots more often at 12.5 rounds per minute, but it also, of course, generates more heat at 7.2, but of course that is also because the range now is over 1113 meters. Now I think that the slightly higher damage on the ER large laser comes from the weapon being one tier higher than the normal large laser. A similar thing actually happens here with the LRMs. Note how the LRM-10 has a 10 higher projectile speed than the LRM-15 and a higher range because it's also one tier higher. The top side of the screen shows general mech stats, and it also shows you the differences between previous and current loadout. If you switch view mode to details, finally you get the familiar view from Mechwarrior Online with weapons taking up the critical slots of the mech. We can also see the damaged armor and the damage structure in red, and there are bars to help visualize the damage. It's actually interesting to see that this mech currently is only using single heatsinks. Innosphere low tech. On the bottom right, you can see the costs for refit and repairs, as well as the time needed to do those tasks. Now, while the repairs are actually going on, we can change the paint jobs to our liking. These seem to be very close to the designs and colors already currently in Mechwarrior Online, which is a nice thing because they have some pretty cool stuff in there, and that should offer some nice customization with up to 3 color zones per mech and tons of colors to choose from. Now we're back in the McBay and we can see the work being done on our Atlas. Now guys, this just looks so cool. I mean, look at that. And now we're actually heading over to the Ops Central to go ahead and get a new contract, get some more Siebels. And here we are, guys, on the star map. Now the star map actually gives us access to navigation, contracts, the market, the MechWarrior barracks, and the operations. It shows our current money again on the top right corner, as well as the costs that are due in a set amount of days, that is cost of operations, of course. The worlds are connected via jump routes, very similar to Battletech, which of course makes sense as this is the same game universe. Some zones seem to be designated as safe, while others are actually denoted in red, but we can only speculate right now what that might mean. But there are some distinct icons also over there, but there currently is not a legend that will tell you what those do, unless you go ahead and mouse over them. The area here is the Steward Commonwealth. There's a recommendation of how high your unit reputation level should be before going there, and there's also a note in red that says the repair time and repair costs will be double from normal in this cluster. We can also see some icons now and actually what they mean. The system called Sheridan offers a defense contract, a raid contract, a multiple mission op, and a war zone contract. This does sound pretty cool from the name of it. I'm actually very antsy to get my hands on one of those and then finally deploy and take him on. Once selected, you will also get a course plotted and you will see the travel time. In this case, there will be 25 days at the cost of 150,000 Siebels. The year shown is 3020, which means we are towards the end of the third succession war in 3025. What is cool is that the map can also be zoomed and seems to be color-coded depending on the faction owning it. And looking at this, they will be traveling to the next campaign mission on a planet called Xinjiang, and that will take 151 days, half a year almost. And that's plenty of time to finally repair that Atlas and get it into fighting shape. Well, looks like we have arrived at the planet. That is a really nice jump ship animation. The dropship detaches and starts the burn planet side. I actually love how the dropship lands and then the mechs step out of it. That is a Battletech feeling if I ever have one. Now, note while the battle currently commences, there are some burning trees and there are different styles of laser beams. and compared to Mechwarrior Online, they are more distorted and granular to actually reflect like beam lights and not so much just coherent lenses of energy that has a different color every time. What we can also see is that this time we have a mech lens besides the Atlas pilot, and you can also send out orders to these pilots. You can see that the mech types in your lens are a Panther, a Marauder, and a Hunchback in this case, and the pilots assigned to each mech individually. Now the engagement is onto an enemy Blackjack medium mech. Look at that AC-20 burst fire, that has some kick to it, wow! The LRM missiles seems to use the old high arc of Mechwarrior Online, which launches the missiles at a very steep arc, as opposed to the current arc in Mechwarrior Online. If you have direct line of sight onto targets, it will shoot them at a shorter or lower arc, therefore making sure the missiles hit the target a little bit faster. But these missiles, as they are fired right now from this Atlas, look like they will have an easier time hitting targets because of the steeper angle, not allowing the missiles to get caught, for example, on buildings that easily. Next up is a Centurion getting engaged upon and destroyed. Hey, look at this reactor explosion and the pilot couch or the cockpit detaching from the mech and then launching the Mechwarrior to safety. That is awesome. That's some Battletech details for you. It's also interesting to see here, look at this, the AI pilot actually twists his torso in the Panther to avoid CT damage from the Blackjack. Once again, mech dies, the reactor blows, and the ejection system carries the enemy pilot to safety. Look at this cool shield generator effect on this building target here. That is really nice. We might have to blow the reactor on that or just shoot through it with our crazy burst fire autocannon 20. It's also great that we finally see flying enemies again, for example helicopters, and we can go ahead and shoot them down with our lasers or missiles. And also really nice, in contrast to Mechwarrior Online, pilots will be able to pitch up and down a lot better, as constricting the angle due to balancing efforts is not an issue in this game. The city destruction will be a lot of fun, and guys, come on, the game looks really good on what was shown so far. Now, it is only a trailer, we haven't played the game yet, so we can only rate and comment on what we see, but guys, I'm excited, and we'll find out how good the game is on December 10th, so be sure to subscribe to my channel and join me here, and of course live on Twitch, as we will play the heck out of this game as soon as it's available. Phew, that has been a ton of work, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know if and how you liked it in the comments below. This has been TTB. Have a great day.